presenters for the webinar today. We have myself as well as Latoya Wilson. Latoya is actually a newer employee to APhA, and we're very excited to have her within our membership department. Kind of taking a little bit of the position that Vanessa Powers previously had, as well as kind of a little bit of a transformation or a reformatting of some of her job responsibilities. She's going to be quite a bit more focused on the chapter development as well as chapter activity. So we're very excited to have Latoya with us as a part of our team, as well as with us today during the webinar. I wanted to briefly talk about what we're doing this week. This is now, I believe, our second or third installment, actually. It's our third installment of Webinar Week within APhA. Each night we're going to do a webinar for a series of the executive committee positions that we've been promoting over the past couple years here. So today we've got an opportunity for some new practitioner mentors, as well as some of your student leaders to jump on the call tonight or jump on the webinar and listen in to find out what or how you can use your new practitioner mentors more effectively. Policy vice presidents will be tonight, membership vice presidents tomorrow, along with the patient care vice presidents. Wednesday we'll do the communication and finance teams, and then on Thursday night we'll have our final webinar for the international vice presidents as well as our chapter leaders. And that chapter leadership webinar will be kind of an overview of one of the presentations that we did earlier in the year called From Tutu to Done. That'll help some of your executive committee members really kind of focus and prioritize some of their roles and responsibilities throughout the year. Now, today's webinar, we're going to focus a little bit on the fall membership drive, talk about some of the new processes that you've seen. I'm trying to get ahead of the curve here before the real fall membership drive starts. I've talked to quite a few chapter advisors. Some of you are actually doing it at the end of this week, so hopefully we can answer some of the questions that you guys have today. Talk a little bit about some of the essentials for a successful chapter. We talked about quite a few things at the Summer Leadership Institute for over 200 leaders this year that we had come. So hopefully they're bringing some of those great ideas that they networked or learned from other chapters, as well as some of the updates that we've had from APhA. And I'll kind of go over those, and then we'll open it up for some Q&A at the end. Now, I encourage you within your technology here on your right-hand bar within GoToMeeting, if you guys have a question, please type that question out under the question bar, and we will try to do the best that we can to answer that. There may be an opportunity for you during the webinar to, we'll kind of unmute you, and we'll have you ask your question kind of to the entire audience, or if you just want to type it in, I'll read it to the audience, and then I'll either answer it or I'll have one of our staff members. So I wanted to start off with a quick little poll here. I know this was part of the registration, but I wanted to make sure that we kind of had a good idea of who the audience was. So how many years have you served as an APhA-ASP chapter advisor? I'll launch that poll right now. And we'll give you about 5 more seconds. All right, we are going to close that poll there. And the results we'll share. So everybody has a good idea of who is on the phone right now. About 55% of you are within your first 3 years, 10%, 4 to 6. 7 to 10 years is about 13, and 11 more is about 3%. But I think the big one is almost 20% of the folks on the call today are brand new chapter advisors, and that's almost 40 of you guys on the call. So we'll hopefully have a little bit of information for you and hopefully can help you in your new position as we go through. The second poll question that I have for everybody is the issue that I'm struggling with the most as an APhA-ASP chapter advisor is A, chapter president and chapter leaders, B, balancing my advising with my other job responsibilities, C, working with the new technology that we have, either the upcoming membership drive, working with APhA, pharmacist.com profile, or D, lack of support from my school or college of pharmacy administration. So I'm going to open that poll up for everybody right now, and we'll give you another 10 seconds to answer that. All right, about 85% of you have voted already. I'm going to give that one more minute here, or one more second here. All right, we're going to close that poll. And so the results, balancing advising with other job responsibilities is about 60%. It looks like you guys are set with your leaders as well as your administration, and 30% of you kind of working with APHA's pharmacist.com profile. So sounds like I need to do another webinar on balancing roles responsibilities as we kind of look forward to some of the other opportunities that we have to communicate with advisors throughout the year. We can definitely do that. So I wanted to start off today with just a leadership executive committee structure. And this is something that we've been talking about for quite a bit now. But I want to make sure everybody is fully aware of this, that we're looking for every chapter to have these core positions of president, president-elect, MVP, finance vice president, patient care vice president, policy vice president, as well as your communications international chapter advisor. And during the annual meeting this year, during the advisors workshop, we received a lot of feedback that your chapters have a lot more positions, and we want to make sure that those students kind of get the same information that everybody else is. Because what we do with these core positions is, obviously we're going to have webinars, but we're going to continue to have opportunities for these students to network at mid-year regional meetings, as well as have a workshop at annual meetings so that they can communicate a little bit more. APHA also has new technology. We've kind of updated our e-communications as well as our e-communities. And so there is an opportunity for online forums for each of these positions to kind of network with each other. We're not quite there yet within student development to launch that, because we've got to make sure that we have staff to really support that. But you will kind of see that kind of evolving a little bit. But as you see kind of under communications vice president there, your secretary, social media chair, website chair, public relations, historian, those are all extremely important positions, as are the ones under your finance, or the ones that are underneath your president, or your liaisons to each of the patient care projects. Those are still extremely valuable, but it makes it a little bit easier at APHA when we can communicate with one person, and then they can kind of distribute that information. I've actually had quite a few conversations with advisors who maybe their president-elect has the role or responsibility of some of these other offices. And as we kind of progress, Virginia is going to be launching her chapter operations manual very soon, and they'll have more information regarding the roles and responsibilities. But we want to make sure that everybody has a good opportunity to, number one, get involved, but not be overburdened in their position. So that's one of the reasons why we created these. But as we found over the past month and a half here, we've asked the chapter advisors to fill out your information and make sure that you have everything up to date within your executive committee, and making sure that APHA understands and knows this. And the only way that we can do that is to have the advisors complete that information through your pharmacist.com profile. And I'm going to turn this portion over to LaToya, and she's going to go through how to update your chapter executive committee members. And the reason why we want to put this at the front of our presentation is, as of last week, we only had about 50 chapters out of the 130 that we have complete that information. So right now for the webinars, our promotion is only going to a little less than a third of everybody who's out there. So LaToya, why don't you take over right now?
Okay, so I just wanted to discuss the importance of assigning executive committee positions. In this process, you will also be assigning your membership vice president, who plays an important role for your chapter. They help with the setting of goals, and they also help with the drives for recruitment and retention for your chapter. Also, you will be the only person who will have access to assigning executive committee positions, the primary chapter advisor. And this, of course, is a new online functionality, and we want you to be as comfortable as possible going into assigning these positions. The officers, they only serve a one-year term, and you can change these positions anytime during the year. So you would access this information from your pharmacist.com profile, and then you will go to the My Groups option. All right. When you click on the My Groups option, it will redirect you to the membership committee page, and you would just click at the bottom right hand of the screen where it says Add Committee Member, and then it will redirect you to the next page where it says New Committee Member Search. And you don't have to add any information into the search boxes, you would just click the search option and it will pull up a list of all the members in your chapter. You will bubble in beside the chapter person's name. And then it will redirect you to the page where you can add in the membership committee positions information. So here you see a drop down of all the committee positions. You have 9 core positions that show, and if the position is not shown there, you would just enter them as a chapter executive member as their title, and up to 10 people can hold their position. So if you do not see the name here in the drop down, you just add them as the chapter executive member. Next, you will be able to put in the date that you're assigning the position, and that date should be today's date. So if you were entering a chapter executive member today, then you would put in today's date as the start date, and it will automatically populate from a year from that date. And then you would just save the information. And the positions will show in the menu. It'll redirect you to the committee search page, and it'll show in the menu at the bottom of the screen. And now I'm going to redirect the presentation over to Joyce for her to talk about the chapter goals.
LaToya, if I can jump in, I apologize. I think all of the slides that are flipping back and forth is APHA. We got new laptops at the association, and I've noticed that mine's extremely touchy when I've got the lid closed down, so I apologize. I think it's skipping ahead on the slides there for you.
Okay.
So I apologize for that. But we do have a question from Courtney Doyle Campbell. Courtney had asked, in the future, will student presidents be allowed to enter their information on pharmacist.com? Do you or Joyce mind answering that question right now?
I just want to make sure I understand the question, Keith. Is she asking if they'll be able to enter their chapter advisor information or the committee assignment information?
I'm assuming it's the committee assignment information.
Yeah, the committee assignment information they can enter right now. The main thing that we need to know is that they are the primary chapter advisor. And as long as they're listed as the primary chapter advisor, they will have access to the committee, the chapter information, and everything that LaToya just demonstrated.
So do they have to go through the chapter advisor profile in order to do that?
Yes, the chapter, it has to be the primary chapter advisor's profile.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, I'm just going to talk a little bit about chapter goals. And basically at the Leadership Institute this summer, every chapter was given their chapter performance overview. And we asked that the chapter advisors just sort of assist the MVPs and the rest of the leadership team in taking a look at that chapter performance overview. And it'll have statistics from several years back that they can look at and just sort of chart how the chapter has been doing. What we ask is that you also look at the enrollment figures for the student pharmacists at your institution and use both of those figures as you're setting your goals. So if you look at last year's goals, we want you to be, we want you to set optimistic but realistic goals. And over time, we're hoping that all schools will be able to get greater than 65% of their enrollment as members of APhA-ASP. And LaToya, as Keith mentioned, is going to be a great resource for the chapters as we work through this goal process. And I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about the status report.
Yes, we want the membership vice presidents to submit numerical goals to us, which I will be keeping track of throughout the fall drive. And once we receive these numbers, as the fall drive goes on, I'll keep track of them and send out a status report by email to them bi-weekly and sometimes weekly. And it'll include all of the numbers for each university and college, as well as a graph. And we're doing this to try to create some momentum so that they can be excited about the recruitment process with their fall drive. And these emails will start going out probably within the next 2 weeks. Okay, and the fall drive boxes have already been sent out. You should have received them on last Monday. And in the box, the students should have their membership folders. They should have flyers, and as well as there should be a chapter advisor survival guide in the box that you want to take out so that you can look through the guide. So if the students need any direction, you'll have all of that information to share with them. As well as we have some membership enrollment forms. And in these forms, and these membership enrollment forms have already been pre-printed, so they are only to be used if you encounter any problems or if the student encounters any problems with the online process. Hopefully they won't, because we've had some schools successfully submit all of their students online, but just in case, we want you to be prepared as possible for any situation, so we included the paper enrollment forms in the box. We have blanks in there as well for new students. We also included some national patient counseling competition materials and also a breakdown of the dues amounts. It is very important that students understand that they will be paying their national membership dues, but included in this will be the chapter and state dues. So the price will increase if the state or the chapter dues are not $0. And online, chapter advisors have primary access to everything the student needs, such as membership rosters, chapter reimbursement reports, and also the chapter dues updates. The chapter dues updates will be done once a year, preferably in the springtime, but we recently went through the process during this season, so next year it'll be around April where you would do the dues updates again. For the membership rosters, it'll have all of the information that you need on there, and students will come to you to request these membership rosters and chapter reimbursement reports. For the chapter reimbursement reports, it will only include the information for the payment schedule check that you received. So recently we sent out payments for February through May, and so if you go to pull your reimbursement report now, it'll show all of the students who paid their dues between February and May. And but the membership roster will show all active members in your chapter at the time. And now Joyce is going to discuss the NAPLEX benefits.
We know we get a lot of questions about this important benefit for the 2015 graduates. And there's some requirements to make sure that we get the benefits out to them in a timely manner. We ask that to be eligible to receive the NAPLEX benefits, which include the complimentary book, as well as access to the NAPLEX-related questions on Pharmacy Library, that the student pharmacist joins or renews by October 31st, 2014. Then we ask them, because we ship the books out at the end of January, beginning of February, so we ask them to request the book. If they signed up as a single-year member, they will be invoiced the $10 shipping and handling fee when they sign up, and they'll pay that online. If they're a dual member, that fee is waived. But we ask them to go in and request the book between November 1st and December 15th with the address where they're going to be at the end of January, beginning of February, so that we make sure that we get the book to them in a timely manner. Then we will be sending out an email that will give them access to the pharmacylibrary.com bonus questions. And that'll go out roughly about the same time as they receive their book. So they have all the tools they need in February to start studying for the NAPLEX.
Okay, and here you see the chapter reimbursement schedule. The chapter reimbursements will go out 5 times per year, and then you will also get your chapter rebates in February after the fall drive is completed. With the chapter rebates, all students who enroll before October the 15th or post-date by October the 15th, the chapter receives $3 back per enrollment. If they enroll after October 15th, they get a $1 rebate back per enrollment. But all payments must be postmarked for these dates, or all students must be enrolled online by these dates in order for them to receive their rebates. On October 31st is the deadline to apply for dual memberships. And also, for students who apply for these dual memberships, it is the last day for them to be eligible to get the NAPLEX. November 1st through December 15th, the graduates will go online to request their NAPLEX. And of course, like I said, you will get the $1 rebate November 8th to students who enroll up to November the 8th. And that is it. Does anyone have any questions?
We actually do have quite a few questions here. The first question is from Lindsay Welch. She asks, how real-time are the membership rosters online?
Well, the membership roster should be up to date. So if you go in today, and some people have joined between today and say you go in tomorrow, they'll see all the updated memberships on the roster.
Now those, of course, are the students that enrolled online and paid online. For processing, if we do happen to get the paper forms, those will take a little longer, so those students wouldn't be reflected until those paper forms were processed.
So normally if somebody's processing out online, how long does it take to kind of go through before you should recognize it?
Immediately.
Immediately. Great. Thank you. Our next question is from Kelly Cochran. She said, Latoya, does the chapter get the rebate, or does the student submitting the membership get the rebate?
The chapter gets the rebate.
Great. Thank you so much. Stephanie Hatoy asks, if a student is no longer at the school or matriculating, and they were an executive committee member, how can they delete them out of the position?
They need to give us a call, and we will remove them from that position. And once they're removed, they can go online to reassign that position to someone else.
Okay, so only APHA staff can delete executive committee members?
Yes.
Okay, great. Question that we, hang on one second here. Trying to make sure that I got all the questions here. That kind of covers a lot of them that were asked earlier. We'll go through, and if you have more questions about membership, please type those in, and we'll address those at the end of the call here. But everybody's kind of, we're trying to respond back to them as quickly as possible, and some of them are kind of one-on-one questions. But one comment from Clark, he says, hello, when entering chapter officer information, I get a rejection related stating, sorry, your request could not be processed. Please select the selected position and date range. Be aware that some positions may not be available for all date ranges. And you know, the response that we kind of gave back was when selecting the date range, you have to choose today's date. You cannot choose an earlier date. But do you have any other suggestions for that, or kind of troubleshooting maybe that problem that advisors have had when entering their chapter executive committee members?
Right. The thing about that is that once they're entering the chapter executive committee position, they have to be sure that they're using the date that they're putting in the position. And if time goes on and they want to extend the position, they would just have to reassign the position to them so that the date range can extend. They can't go in and edit the end dates because it's automatically populated, or the voting status because that's also automatically populated. So if you go on and try to do any edits and you see that the boxes is grayed out, it's because you can't go in to edit that information. But as time goes around and the position is extended, just be sure that you go in online to update that position so that the date can be extended on our website.
Great. Very good information. Thank you so much. And thank you, Joyce and LaToya, for kind of going through some of those areas here. Now I'm going to take over and kind of go through some information quickly, maybe about 10 minutes, and we're going to try to open up the rest of the call here for Q&A. We'll either have you guys type in again, or if you'd like to ask your question live, we can unmute you and kind of go from there. But I want to talk about Essentials for Success Chapter Officer Retreats. During last year's webinar, as well as the Summer Leadership Institute, we spent some quality time talking about each of the components of the spring, summer, and winter retreats. And I wanted to just make sure that we reminded everybody that the true success of every chapter really kind of falls on planning and making sure that retreats go well, and a lot of that kind of comes to the chapter advisor and working with the executive committee. So I encourage you guys to go on pharmacist.com. Under the Chapter Officer Resources section, there's a link for webinars. Take a look at that webinar from last year if you want some information regarding how to best plan out your spring, summer, as well as winter retreats. I also have a couple PowerPoint presentations that we've developed that I can email to you. So if you need a little bit of help in regards to those areas, please let us know. Another great area for success is student outreach. We sent out information last week in regard to outreach, and we're trying to collect as much information as we can regarding this year's dates and trying to figure out who we can send to your chapter. But what we do is we try to go every third year to your school, and the only reason why is because we just have too many schools to visit these days. But we definitely try to visit the new schools and colleges of pharmacy a couple times within their first 3 or 4 years. We try to visit satellite campuses as best as possible, especially if you're a brand new satellite campus. So if you've got a new program that has been extended to a distance site, please let us know. We'd love to visit them and then VTC back to the main chapter. We try to do that during those first couple of years to help the chapter get off the ground because, in essence, they're really a new school from our end, and they need to kind of learn some of the roles, responsibilities of kind of conducting business as an APhA-ASP chapter. But we have offered the past couple of years video conferencing technology. We do that from APhA headquarters within our media room. So it's a kind of an abbreviated student outreach where we focus on the chapter president and president-elect. We'll talk to the advisors one-on-one, and we'll spend some quality time overall with your executive committee, running through some of the do's and don'ts of being a good and effective committee throughout the entire year. We don't usually offer within the VTC a general meeting, but it has actually been quite valuable for the schools that have used it, just to get a little bit of a checkup on how they're doing as a chapter. We do try to make sure that our travel, we do set those up in loops. So if we're visiting the schools in Ohio, we try to visit as many schools in the Ohio, Kentucky area as possible, and that just really helps from a travel savings. As you know, airline costs are getting quite expensive out there. When it comes to travel, meals, and lodging, the schools are not responsible for providing any financial assistance to the executive committee or to the staff that come out. This is something that APhA has budgeted. However, if you want to take the students who come out, maybe our national president, Nick Capote, or President-elect Lucy, if you want to take them out, or if a student wants to offer a place for them to stay at their house, something along that lines, we would greatly appreciate it. That just helps our budget and helps us, visit more schools as we can. But by no means is the chapter required to do that. And what we kind of do is we make sure that there's core components of each visit. So we want to make sure that we have meeting with an advisor, meeting with the executive committee. Usually I like to meet with at breakfast time with the chapter president to kind of get the lowdown of what the day is like. Maybe are there certain areas where we should kind of focus some of our efforts. And then we like to always have a general meeting in front of the entire chapter, or in front of the student body, whatever it may be. Those areas in yellow our core component areas that we need to actually run an outreach visit. Extras would be meeting with the dean or dean of student affairs, interacting with other student leaders or faculty. Those aren't necessary. They help out a lot, especially if a staff member, Virginia, Crystal, myself are kind of going out there, but they're not core requirements. Those ones in yellow actually are. So I encourage you guys by this Wednesday to sign up for an outreach visit if your chapter's eligible. If you're not eligible, send me an email. We'll try to fit you into the schedule. And usually if you're a newer chapter advisor or if you've had a major shift in kind of what's been going on at the school, we like to visit you then as well. MRMs, the official deadline for each of the mid-year regional meetings ends about 2 weeks before. However, the past couple years here, Region 3, Region 4, Region 2, we've actually sold out for the MRMs well before that 14-day period. So what we're asking all the chapters to do is get your students signed up as early as possible. Registration rate has increased. We went from $88 to $105, and that was one of those things that we were trying to do, trying to keep that hopefully for the next couple of years at that 105 rate. But rather than kind of looking at that pilot structure where we're combining all the regions, we're trying to come up with an affordable way to make travel easier to go to the MRMs, as well as provide any extra benefits that we can to the students. So we did have to increase registration, and that's primarily also due to the lack of support and sponsorship that we've had over the past couple of years here. Locations for the 2015 MRMs, we'll release those in mid-September. I know a lot of chapters are already thinking if they want to have a student run, or if the mid-year regional meeting is going to be in your area or your state. We will have that information for you available. Pilot program, we're still going to do the pilot program to see how it works. We're primarily looking at finances for Regions 7 and 8 this year, but we are not doing that for Regions 1 and 2. Last year we did in Washington, D.C., and the cost of the MRM was just atrocious. And we tried finding something that was reasonable cost-wise for bringing Regions 1 and 2 together, but we just couldn't do it from a budget perspective. So instead of having it somewhere in New Jersey or Pennsylvania, something along that lines, we're actually going to have the Region 1 MRM in Albany, New York, and the Region 2 MRM in Morgantown, West Virginia. So I encourage you guys to visit pharmacist.com to go learn a little bit more about what we're going to be doing during the MRMs. And then also, as a quick reminder, October is American Pharmacist Month. We will have a social media day, and we will be looking for chapters to focus a little bit on some of the grassroots initiatives that they learned about at the Summer Leadership Institute. So kind of stay tuned to that, and if you can make sure that you do some of your patient care projects, some of your policy and advocacy events, especially related to provider status, we'd love for you guys to do that during American Pharmacist Month. Wanted to give you a quick update on Operation Self-Care. This will be the final year right now. We still do not have any supporters for Operation Self-Care, so the reports that were handed in to APHA headquarters on July 15th, that will be actually the last cycle that we will have from a reporting aspect. We will provide the regional awards at this year's mid-year regional meetings in the fall, and then we will provide national awards at the annual meeting in San Diego for 2015. However, we are not going to have a reporting process for anything kind of from June 1st all the way through May 31st. If something does change, we'll keep everybody updated, but Operation Self-Care will no longer be a national project. Something that was released during the Summer Leadership Institute as well as the annual meeting is APHA's Provider Status Campaign, which is Pharmacists Provide Care. And we were so excited. I had over 200 Hill visits through our students that came to Summer Leadership Institute this year. We had roughly about 130 students go up to the Hill and kind of by grouping together and do multiple visits. We made some huge impact. We actually had, after the meeting, we had about 8 co-sponsors signed from the students that went up, and we're now up to close to almost 100 co-sponsors for HR 4190. But we're looking for the chapters, and we're looking for the state associations to kind of get a little bit more involved. This year, obviously, is an election year, so if you have an opportunity to bring one of your legislators to your chapter, or if you can meet with somebody at their local office, we highly encourage you to do that. Pharmacist.com has information on state-specific infographics, web banner ads, commitment cards. All of that information you can find on the Pharmacists Provide Care website. but then you can also get information, or you can order some of these things through there as well. But what we want is, we want you to make the case for pharmacy, why we need provider status. And the students that we talked to at Summer Leadership Institute, once we were able to kind of break some of the barriers, we were able to help them kind of really make the case and really kind of be articulate when they were up on the Hill. So we're going to probably look for advisors to help out with that, but there's a lot of great resources that are available there, what voters are saying, information specifically on HR 4190 there. But we encourage you guys to tell your preceptors, alumni, and then definitely share any stories that you guys have. Something else that we released at Summer Leadership Institute was CHAMP, which is Chapters Achieving More Through Partnerships. Some of you who have been advisors for more than 11 years, that 3% of you, you know what this is, because CHAMP was actually a program that we ran in the late 90s, early 2000s. What it does is it kind of puts chapters together, and in the past we only did partnerships where there were only 2 chapters together and they would network and meet at some of the meetings that they go to, but we wanted to revitalize this. One of the main things that we kept receiving back from our MRM, annual meeting, and SLI surveys was, we need more networking. We need more opportunities to network. So we provided an opportunity, called it the Breakfast of Champions at SLI on Sunday morning for 5 teams to get together. And we had them sit at the table. We had specific set questions of ways that they could interact. But we wanted to really kind of revitalize some of that networking that we have. But the schedule that we kind of gave the schools, whether they do conference calls, email, do Skype, Google Hangout, something along that lines, is try to meet monthly if you can throughout the rest of this fall to exchange some of the ideas. And how do you build creative mechanisms to kind of share throughout the rest of the year? So we wanted to provide this as an opportunity, and we'll have a couple more webinars for chapters to do this. One of the benefits of this is the list wasn't just random 5 schools. What we did is we took the star rating system, and we took all of the 5-star chapters and matched them up with the either 0 or 1-star chapters, and we kind of did that through the process of 5 all the way down to 3, 4, 2, 1, so on and so forth. So each of the teams should have a good mix of chapter experience and award-winning chapters with the chapters that maybe are new or still growing. So we'd love some feedback and to see how that goes, and so please let us know. We're trying to provide as many opportunities for the chapters to be successful. Something else that Lauren Kirk, our Speaker of the House, ran on his platform for running for office this year, and something that we're able to do is the Advocate Training Series. It's exclusively for student pharmacists, and what we're looking to do is kind of model after our leadership training series. So through a series of elements such as engaging in a Hill visit, writing an advocacy letter, attending an annual meeting or MRM workshop or policy-related session, the student will actually kind of earn more recognition, and they'll be able to become an APhA-ASP trained advocate through that specific designation. So very similar to the LTS in that you get credit, and then that credit actually brings you, you record that record. We're looking for the policy vice president to kind of collect that and submit the name to APhA headquarters. But, we're looking to do this throughout the student's tenure, and we're hoping to have a very nice little pin that they can wear to annual meeting or some of their Hill visits that recognizes them as an advocate. And then the other thing related to policy and advocacy is the Back the Pack program. This is something that we had probably 30, 35 chapters participate in last year. It was our third year doing that program. But instead of doing it during the January, February time period leading up to annual meeting, we're now doing it year-round. So students want the opportunity to really focus on advocating for the PAC. You can definitely do that throughout the fall, so if you can incorporate that, that would be great. Did want to mention 2 things, or one thing related to ACPE. I talked a little bit about this during the presentation that we did at ACPE this year, but standard number 14 of the proposed standards and guidelines for ACPE talks about co-curriculum, and we're talking about experiences that are external to the classroom, labs, practice sites, but enhance or advance the learning that the students have. And I can't think of any better way to help promote this or to help implement this other than the things that we do within APhA-ASP. We spent some time talking about the patient care project and how this really fits into these key elements of process. opportunities being varied in reflection. And the question that I asked the audience while I was there is, when it comes to the self-reflection piece, we have you fill out these massive reports. But is there a way that we can change our reporting process a little bit and have some of the individual students provide their reflection on what they did during their patient care programs, or maybe a community outreach event, to kind of help implement this? So I do realize that these are draft standards, but I'm already seeing a couple schools advertise for positions related to co-curriculum. They're finding directors or coordinators, and some schools are putting it under your Office of Student Affairs. Some of them are the Dean of Assessment or Director of Assessment, so on and so forth. But hopefully, I want chapter advisors to think a little bit about this. Where does it fit within your job responsibilities, and are you at the table when the discussions are being had at your school or college of pharmacy? So just throwing that out. Definitely want to promote our Facebook page, our Twitter account, as well as our YouTube page. Those are things that we are seeing a lot more students participate in. So we'll now open this up to Q&A here. Latoya's information's up there, my information's up there, but we really want to answer as many questions as we can for you to make this as a valuable experience. So we'll go to the questions. Right now, yes, everybody keeps asking, can we get the PowerPoint? Absolutely. We are definitely going to have this recorded webinar available on our website within the next couple days here, but we can send you the PowerPoint as well. Tonight's webinar, and a question from Mackenzie Calhoun, ETSU. She asked, how do the new practitioner mentors access tonight's webinar? Information on the webinars are all available on APHA's pharmacist.com page. If you go under the Chapter Officer Resources section, it's about midway down. If you click on webinars, anybody can register for it. Right now, I think we only had about 50 people registered for the webinar there. Mackenzie also asked, how are the new practitioner mentors designated by the primary advisor? And Joyce or Latoya, if you can remind me, what is the answer to that question? How do they designate them?
They'll need to put them under that other designation. And also, Tom English keeps a list of those as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so Mackenzie, I can send you specific information, but Tom English is our Director of New Practitioner Development at APHA, as well as our editor of Student Pharmacist Magazine. He helps match the schools up with new practitioners that kind of send him information that they'd like to be involved. So he'll help and assist with that, but it sounds like from the profile part of your pharmacist.com profile, right now just put him underneath that other category there. Doesn't look like we have any other questions right off the bat here. If anybody would like to raise their hand, I can unmute you, and we can have you ask your question aloud here. If you want to jump off the call, we're officially done, so you can definitely do that, but we'll definitely stay on for at least another 10, 15 minutes here to be able to answer questions that y'all may have. Well, I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions come through here, so I'd like to officially say thank you so much for attending the webinar. We'll definitely have more of these as the year progresses and provide you with as many opportunities that you have that you possibly could want to kind of get in contact with staff. For those new advisors, that 19% that are jumping on the webinar, I do like to spend some time one-on-one with each of you. I do have a list of about 5 or 6 different things that are really core to the chapter advisor position, ranging from finances to your overall teaching philosophy or your philosophy of mentorship. So if you are new, please let me know, and we'll hopefully spend some time on the phone kind of going through some of your specifics at your school or college of pharmacy. But for the rest of you, thank you so much for joining, and have a great day. All right. Question from Lindsay Welch is, do you run out of chapter advisor spots for MRM, or are you just referring to the student spots? Lindsay, we're referring to the student spots. We'll always have spots for the students there. Glenda Carr writes, if we have a split campus, does that change how we find students and put them into executive committee positions? Latoya and Joyce, would you mind providing an overview of the split campuses and how they do that?
Well, with the split campuses, you should be able to have your own executive committee there because we have them listed as two different campuses unless you have made some specification that you wanted to operate as one campus, although you have different locations. But if we have you listed as a separate campus, then you should be able to assign executive committee positions for your campus.
So Stacy Rowe writes, our chapter still has an Operation Self-Care. What's the best way for us to report the events we are conducting under this operation since there's no longer a national operation? Right now, the awards committee will be kind of discussing that on how they're going to break those out. They're also going to be revising some of the areas for, say, Generation RX and kind of the double reporting of Gen RX, both in the reports that you fill out for January as well as the Chapter Achievement Awards program. But initially, for self-care, you're going to report that in the patient care report for your overall Chapter Achievement Awards. Good question, though. All right, I'm not seeing any further questions come through. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining the call, and please give us a call or contact us if you have any further questions or concerns. Take care and have a great day.